Hey, scrolling along with Susan. Today I'm going to take a flat board and turn it into a collapsible bowl. Stay tuned. The scroll saw excels at doing angles and curves, and this is what I'm going to be doing today. I just have this scrap piece of cherry that's just the right size for this collapsible bowl. And what I did is I went on to Inkscape, which is a free vector program that you can upload on your computer, and just did 3 ovals of a little bit larger size here, and I have this outside here that I'm going to cut for the handle, and it fits quite nicely here. I will be cutting each of the ovals separately at an angle so they all will fit together. Now, depending on what kind of scroll saw that you have, what type of blade that you use, and how thick and what type of wood that you use, you need to experiment to make sure that you have the right degree angle, the slant on your scroll saw. So I am going to experiment first on the same type of wood, and I just drew some ovals here and gradually went wider, and I'm going to test this one first so that I'm not ruining my larger piece. My scroll saw of choice is a Seiko, and I'm first going to set this at 90 degrees straight up and down to cut the outside rim. Then we will talk about degrees. I've got a number 5 blade in here and simply cut out the outside first. I wish I had a magic formula. I wish I could tell you that you need to use 3/4 inch wood, a number 5 blade, and go at 3% or 3 degrees. But it doesn't work that way. I am going to start at 2 degrees for this outside piece. And if that is too loose, that's okay, because I have the practice of the other 2 pieces, and I can always draw a line on the inside to put more, like at 2.3 or 2.4, and then work that way until you find that exact fit you're looking for. It also depends on how thick your rings are going to be. This is a little less than 1/4 inch, and well, let's just test and see. Because I chose to use cherry, it has a tendency to burn, so I'm going to put some packing tape on the bottom to help lubricate the blade. I happen to have a Seiko scroll saw. Every scroll saw is different. Some scroll saws, the table tilts to the left or the right. Other ones, the head tilts to the left or the right. My head tilts on this part. I have a digital gauge set at 0.0. I'm exactly at 90 degrees or 0 degrees tilt. And if you do not have one of these, it's okay. Wherever your tilt is, it will show you approximately what degrees it will turn. So I'm going to loosen from the bottom my scroll saw and go to 2 degrees, and I'm taking the head and turning it to the right. If you have a table that actually goes to the degrees, then you need to put the table the left side down. Now I have a cheap little 1x2 here made out of pine, and I'm going to use that to make a gauge for me to drill the pilot holes on my piece, and I want it at the same angle. So I'm just cutting that. This part is very important, the hole drilling. Have a scrap piece underneath. You have your angle gauge right here, and where you want to drill the hole is either right on the line or a little bit on the inside piece at this angle, so your waist for the hole will be on the inside and it will be covered when you expand the box. Okay, I use this support here because I wanted to make sure this was laying flat. Always start with a new blade for a new project. Do not push. It seems like the very first cut, right from this hole, is the hardest to do. And these lines that I have are pretty much approximate. But if you go off the line, just gently go back to it. and cut like this all the way around. Nice and even, not pushing. Try to stay continuous. Try not to stop in the middle of your cutting. You need to be exactly on the opposite side of where you started cutting, or it will be lopsided. Even though I started a little bit further in than I wanted to, I need to follow through with the same position on the other side. That isn't too bad. At 3/4 inch thick, you should pretty much have about a 1/2 inch showing. And I am a little under 1/2 inch, so I think I'm going to back down to 1.8 degrees instead of the 2 degrees and see if I can get a little bit more showing. You recut this. There's not that much of a difference, but it's always good to recut that, drill your hole again, and give it a try on the next round. Now, your sample piece probably will not be this large. You can do a small sample piece as long as you can judge the gauge. And this is what also happens when you're cutting, when you're drilling the hole on this outside piece instead of the inside piece. Now I'll have a bit of sanding to do, so I'm going to try a little bit better on this inside piece. Let's see what this second cut did at 1.8. I believe that is it. Yep, it's about 1/2 inch. And let's see what it looks like with this top piece on. I'm going to have another functional piece right here by the time that I'm done. I think the other one will look nicer because it will be a little deeper on top, but there we go. Now I've got one more to cut. I will be attaching my pattern using clear contact paper and then spraying the back of my pattern and attaching that to the front of the contact paper. A reminder to make sure that you are set at 0 degrees or the 90 degrees straight angle. So I'm going to be cutting out my handle in a 90-degree fashion and all the way around the outside. The basket handle is cut out. Looks like it's going to be kind of cute. And now I'm ready to drill my pilot holes at my 1.8 degree angle. I want the best possible result I can come up with, so I changed to a brand new blade. Just a reminder that your blade is cutting in the clockwise motion. Before you start removing the paper, make sure you're just putting a little mark where all of them go together, so you know which one's the top and the bottom and which side they fit together. It'll make life a lot easier for you later on. At this point, I'm folding the middle piece in half so I can mark where the sides are going to be. Now, with various sanding tools, you're going to be sanding down the part of the pilot holes that you drilled that are exposed. Make sure that you don't sand down too much, or it may affect how everything fits. So sand on the inside of the bowl as well as the outside of the bowl. I've also seen people, instead of sanding down where the pilot holes are, they fill it with a mixture of glue and sawdust and then sand it over. Now I've chosen a 5/16 inch dowel rod, and I need to drill for the handle on the outside about right here, which is right in line. It's halfway through. And I also need to get rid of this excess right here, so when it swings this direction, there's not a lot hanging out. So I'm going to cut this off and drill my holes for the dowel rod through this piece and the outside piece here. I'll be cutting my dowel rod with just a little bit hanging out, and I'll be doing this right on the scroll saw. Smoothing over the edges. The dowel rods have been glued and they're dried. Now it's up to you how you want to finish your bowl. I use a combination of beeswax and mineral oil. You don't want any kind of thickness added to this. Well, here's my practice basket. Now, this way, obviously, it will go straight out, but the other way, it can fall apart. So if you want to put a backing on it, like a strip of wood this direction and then in this direction, then you can actually carry it around without it falling apart. And then here's my basket with the handle. You can cover the knobs on the ends of this to make them look a little prettier. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time.